Is there a nudist camp in Europe, asks Megan, a 34-year-old nudist from Paris, that can handle my request that my son of 14 be made to stay completely nude for an entire stay next summer when he is out of school? From Y Forum, this is Dare to Ask. Norbert, 17, of Minnesota, replied, "That is a horrible thing to do to someone." While Britt, a Washington, D.C. female, said, "If my parent forced me to be nude, whether I liked it or not, I would hate them and question their motives. Camp is supposed to be fun, not a summer of hell." Ann, 39, from Kansas City, Missouri, said, "That's called child abuse. I'm not sure what you think you're accomplishing by planning to shove your lifestyle down his throat, but he'll hate you for the rest of his life. Have fun with that." From Williston, North Dakota, came this reply from Rochelle. "Don't most parents shove their lifestyle down their kids' throats?" Here's what we found. We're not sure what they make young'uns do in those highfalutin Europe parts. But here in this good old US of A parts, we don't like to force them to show their parts. Sure, we may dress our 5-year-olds in stripper tops that say juicy or you want this on them. But just because someone's got a sleazy mom, does anyone really put stock in that famous saying about the apple not falling far from the stripper pole? Nikki Hoffman Lee of the 25,000-member Naturist Society, that's at naturistsociety.com, which promotes body acceptance through clothing-optional recreation, said most 14-year-olds are body conscious and don't want to be naked. And she said they're certainly not going to do a camp with mom and dad. That's all teens, not just naturists. The worst thing to do is force them, she said. They might be very embarrassed, and I'm sorry to say, but if a child is very upset and talks about it and it gets out, a mother could lose custody. But are there long-term negative psychological effects on a kid going natural? I don't think so, Lee said. We've done polls and found that just about everyone has skinny dipped with others at some point. The key thing is it has to be their choice. Some might wonder if it's okay at all to raise a child in a nudist culture. Hoffman Lee said that, first, measures are taken to protect children at resorts or beaches through self-policing and guidelines. More importantly, letting it all hang out fosters a healthy body image. She said, we call our parts by the appropriate names and aren't ashamed of them. There's no pee-pee in naturism. We know our parts and what they are for. Naturists tend to have lower numbers of teen pregnancies, she added. Girls and boys learn about inappropriate actions and how not to clamor for attention or denigrate themselves or others for imperfections. She said they end up with a deeper respect for the opposite sex, adding, it's like there's no surprises. We look deeper than the surface. You may grow up feeling intimidated talking to a doctor if he's got his suit and tie on, but when there's no clothes on anyone, it's an even playing field. Ezzy, 52, from Pittsburgh, asked, do deaf people scream when they're frustrated? Ashley, 24, and deaf from St. Augustine, Florida, said, although I don't, I had a deaf special needs roommate who did. Man, what a howler. From Clark, New Jersey, 19-year-old Stephen, who is deaf, added, deaf people have a voice box in their throat. They can make sounds perfectly or awfully. We are human beings, nothing more or less. Christy, 22, from Jacksonville, Florida, replied, I am a deaf education and American Sign Language interpretation major. Deaf people react the same way to situations hearing people do, except they do not always know they've made noises. Sarah from Rochester, New York, told us deaf people do not scream when they are frustrated, no more than you or I do as people who can hear. 37-year-old Seattle resident Christina added, my parents are deaf. Some deaf people are quiet by choice. Others don't care what they sound like and are very expressive vocally. Ray, who is deaf from Iowa, replied, I tend to internalize frustration so as not to bother other people. The answer may also depend on where I am at the time. I won't scream if frustrated at work. Here's Ed from Richmond, Virginia. My sister lost her hearing at a very young age. When we were children, when she was in a room by herself, she would utter quite spontaneously. And yes, the volume did elevate with excitement. 54-year-old Robert from Portland, Oregon said, I teach at a school for the deaf. Often someone without hearing has well-developed vocal cords and uses them as frequently as anyone else. Here's what we found. Read our lips. When you gotta scream, you gotta scream. Many deaf people yell. It's a pent-up discharge that everyone needs as part of their neurological wiring, said psychologist Deborah Serrani, a senior adjunct professor at Adelphi University in New York, who specializes in depression and has worked with deaf people for more than 25 years. She said, it's not good to hold things in. It can lead to things like high blood pressure. Just like hearing people, their facial expressions can get exaggerated too, and they can shake their hands or tap a table to show frustration, she said. One deaf woman I was working with, she got extremely angry talking about a situation at work. She stood up and stamped her feet and was signing in such a large way that the lampshade on my desk started to shake. She pointed to it and we both laughed. Overemphasized signing and more expansive gesticulations can be typical for deaf people when frustrated, she added. One of my favorites is a word you can't print. Yes, we can. Asshole. For someone they're upset with, picture them, when mad, taking their hand, making a fist, and instead of keeping it tight, which they might do if mildly upset, opening it very wide so you can see a big O like a sphincter. Yeah, we hear that one loud and clear. For more on this groundbreaking cross-cultural Q&A project, visit youdaretoask.com.